Okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish carving our block. I want to do a test print to make sure that everything that I want to be carved is carved. So probably with the first one, it's probably not perfect. So you're going to get yourself a metal tray. This is the inking plate, and you're going to take some ink and you're going to squirt about 2 inches of ink across the top of the plate, and you're going to use a roller to spread out the ink on your block as well as on the plate. So you just go back and forth and kind of spread it out. You don't want it to be too thick or your print isn't going to come out the way that you want it to. So you spread it out and you kind of go back and forth. Sometimes when the print ink is still too thick, it almost like the roller isn't spinning. So often what you'll have to do is to take some of the ink off of the block. I guess I squirted too much, and so usually on spare paper, I'll kind of wipe some of it off. And so what the hope is that you get these kind of small puckers on the plate and that your roller rotates completely around. You want there to be even amount of ink on your roller so that you get some fine details. And so there still is too much on this, so I'm going to keep rolling it off of other things. Right? So you'll start to hear kind of a sticky, tacky sound, and that will be kind of a nice, even distribution of ink. And so you can kind of go off to the side at this point, and you're going to take the roller and roll the ink onto your plate. And so you'll be able to kind of go back and forth and spread the ink. So at this point, you can kind of see if there's any areas where maybe you didn't carve enough and maybe you want to go. Like I have a bunch of high points over here that I'm going to need to carve out, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Before I forget, you can take your roller, instead of sitting off to the side making a mess, just hold it on the edge of the tray while you're working. So I'm going to kind of move that aside so that I can print. So now what we need to do is we need to press this ink onto our paper. And so there's a few ways to do this. One, you can just take your piece of paper and you can flip this over. Be real careful to keep the edges clean and your fingers clean. And you want to center it. So I'm going to center it kind of at the top. Make sure my image is the top there. I'm going to center it so that I have equal distance on all 3 of those sides. I'm going to leave some extra space at the bottom because there's a special way to sign these. And I'm going to press it and then I'm going to flip it over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this burrin and I'm going to rub the back of the block. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure. If I apply too much pressure, the ink's going to squirt and I'm going to lose some of my detail. But you should start to see kind of like the ink coming through a little bit. Like you're going to be able to see the darkness of the ink. And then you can pull it back to make sure that you're printing. I haven't relieved this completely, and you can see a few places that aren't solid black. So if I just carefully put it back into place, I can give it a little bit more pressure. I can pull it up and I can see my print. So you can see once again that it is now right side up, and I can kind of scrutinize and see, there's too much ink here, so I probably want to make sure that I don't have enough. I want to clean up the carving here. So I can just take this to the sink, wash it, I can go ahead and clean up the print. When you are doing prints, you can also sign them when you're done. If it's a trial, you can call it an AP or an artist proof. If it is a finished print, you can make as many copies as you want. Say you're going to do 5. Instead of writing artist print, you would maybe say it is number 1 out of 5. Normally, number 1 is your first print or your best print, and then you would rank them based on quality. You would sign your name onto the side, and then you might have a title that you'd want to give it. So I would just, oh, my fingers were dirty, I apologize. I could sign it with the name, and you always do this in pencil. You don't want to do this in pen. Notice that the title is off to the far left side, the number is centered, and your signature is on the far right side.